would like to remind everyone that this show is brought to you by the Dolphin Wars.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to King Dolphin Television. I am Raymond, author of the Dolphin Wars series of books and ruler of the best pod in YouTube, as we hear an airplane just blasting over me. I hope everybody is doing well, and I'd like to also thank you guys to get me to 250 subscribers, and as a result, I will tell you what I've got planned later. But tonight's interview is the return of Stephanie Janiczek of the Smuggler'S Cantina to the
Hi.
pod.
Hi,
I
guys.
decided, hi Stephanie, I decided it was time for an update to see how we're doing here. But before we get started, as always, if you like what we're doing here at the pod, if you love these interviews and the fun that we have, please like and subscribe to the channel. And also for those lurking, please like, subscribe, and comment. I reply to all the comments. And also, and this is equally important, if you know anybody I should interview, please send me their name so I can reach out to them or get them my information. My amazing wrenches will pass it out in the chat. Before we get going, I'm going to welcome everybody in the chat, and then we will get on with the show. We have right now my amazing wrenches, starting with the producer of the show, the one who keeps me out of trouble, and just my better half, Sandra, producer of the show tonight. We have the first in, the last out, Legatus Legionii. Hello, my friend. How are you, sir? We have John Rendell. How you doing, buddy? Glad you can make it. And we have the amazing Comic Relief Crusader. And of course, no chat is no no King Dolphin TV chat is complete without the smarter than the average bear. Snora Pupas! Gilbar. .com. And we will. Oh, and Pudgy Hedgehog is here. Hugs, bounces happily, hugs again. Yes, he has a wrench too. He is ready to bop people with it on the head. And we have right now in the chat, we have Deej Odyssey. Hello, sir. How are you? I'm glad you can make it. So, I will welcome other people as we come in, as they come in, but we've had Stephanie on before, and it was a great show. She got us all caught up to. She told us what she does on her show, and how she keeps track of all things Star Wars. And I decided it's been a while since we've had her on, uh, and had a conversation. We're not going to do we're not going to do. Oh, hello, Wendy Trauma Warrior, my co-host for on Saturdays. She is at work but lurking. Hope you are having an easy shift. Um, I got the feeling Stephanie could have probably used your help. Well, Stephanie
Oh,
probably could have
Wendy.
used your help um, uh, on that day. But yes, Wendy's here. So we wanted to. I wanted to bring Stephanie back so we could catch up with all the things going on with Star Wars and other thing you may want to talk about. And and since I don't have a script, yes, John, you are very observant. I'm sure she'll explain a little bit about it if she really wants.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Yes, where is it? Yeah, he says, I see a cast. But what we're gonna do is we'll just uh, we'll just do a little chit chatting here, and then I'm gonna open it up to you guys. So um, to ask questions. So let us begin. Um, I know you told me about it, but let's try not
I don't.
to draw, not to make anybody pass out. But why are you in a cast?
Okay. On the what's it? The 18th of yeah, it was the 18th of January. Um, I was out in the front yard with my dog around about 4:30 in the afternoon. Husband came home. The dog's frolicking in the front. Now, if you're aware of my channel, you know the dog weighs about 125 pounds. He's huge.
Ow.
He's a big boy.
Mm,
And he is a shepherd,
mm,
so he likes to circle people. He likes to get right up close to you and nudge you over to do, go where he wants you to go. And he doesn't really have a concept of personal space. Doesn't work with him. Um, and he wears an e-collar because he doesn't listen to a damn thing anybody says. He's just like, you know. So I yelled at him. I told him, come, because I thought I'll just take him into the house and put him in his crate. And then, he won't be messing with my husband. Um, Normally, I would just walk out into the yard and make him stay.
mm,
But for some reason, I didn't. My bad. I buzzed him with the e-collar, turned around, watched my husband pull up, and I turned around and I was literally already in a dead run. Kojak, literally, I, I was off my feet.
mm,
I mean, I was literally off my feet. I mean, there was a foot and a half, 2 feet of air between me and the concrete. Okay. So it's on video. You will never see it. I don't want to see it. I lived it.
mm,
But my husband said it's ugly. I
mm,
went flying. I think I remember trying to reach out for the car so I could grab the mirror so I wouldn't hit the ground.
mm.
And I wasn't close enough to hit my car. And I landed like this,
Oh.
shattered my wrist, uh, and got a black eye, a
Mm,
bruise around my left cheekbone, um, and a lovely scrape under my nose. So I had a Hitler mustache going on.
mm.
Um, and I had a light concussion. So
Oh.
it's been quite an odyssey since then. I haven't seen my horse except once in over a month.
Ouch.
Um, but this, no, uh, no, I can't go to groom her.
Mm,
Um, I can't do the things I like to do with her, uh, just because I, I'm one-handed right now. So
mm,
it's been a pain. Sleeping with this thing has been really difficult. And I'm sure Wendy, if you're here, you could probably attest to what people have said. A cast will throw your body out of alignment. My back hurts, my shoulder hurts, my arm, where it's not broken, hurts. Um, so it's just been not a lot of fun. And, just waiting around for a lot of stuff to happen with Disney and everything, because that's really the only entertainment right now that I've got.
mm.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
So
um,
when do you, so you get this off by the end of the month, or is it going to be
Monday,
March?
Monday.
Monday. Okay. Good.
Yep, yep, yep. And I've got the Super Grandmaster Jedi of uh, wrist surgery in the area
Oh,
as my.
good.
He put it back together again. So
Wow.
yeah,
Good.
it's good.
Well, again, it could have been worse, but
Yeah,
good thing it's fixed. And having lived through casts, they're no fun.
no, they're not.
Uh,
I could, the first thing people thought was the horse did it. Like, no, no, she doesn't want to be ridden anymore, so I don't ride her. So, and she's very, very good on the ground. She's very sweet.
mhm,
So it's like, I don't know. She didn't do it. The
yeah.
dog did it. And he
Now,
didn't mean it either. It was an accident. It was,
yeah,
when I think about it, it was my fault. It was.
yeah,
I should have done what I was going to do to begin with. And, you know,
okay,
but anyway, I'm here. We're here.
yeah,
Lesson learned.
yep.
Um, so anyway,
Yes. John Rendell says, "Hope you're healing up soon." Yeah,
yeah.
we
Well,
all
it's
think
going
that.
to be, if I got to be able to get my hand to close.
Yeah.
Um, this is my shooting hand. So it's, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
ooh,
So
oh,
I gotta be able to use it.
yeah.
So
You can't do ambi.
if I have to learn, I will. I'm not appreciative of it. Um, I don't really like the idea, but I will if I have to.
Mm.
So
When we go and do our recoil therapy, Sandra does this more than I do, but she makes it a point to practice ambi, okay,
yeah, yeah,
just in case of.
yeah. I think it's, I thought about doing it before, thought it was a good idea, and now I see that I was wrong not to have pursued it. All right. Um, but I am not worried about uh, getting my hand back to the point where I can carry with my left hand
Mm,
and shoot. You know, it's going to be a while. The tendons are stiff,
mm,
and it's going to be a while, but I think it'll be fine.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be fine. Just gotta
yeah,
deal with the um, deal with the therapy, deal with
yeah,
the that thing constricting your hand, but you're getting that off.
yeah,
Yeah, you're getting
yeah,
that off soon.
yeah.
All right, and Captain Fandom Nerd is here. Hello, sir, and welcome. All right, so um, I think we'll go real quick into what's been going on,
Okay.
and um, oh, and there's Rancor Steve, and he says, "Howdy, everyone, and I hope you get your hand gets healed soon."
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. I
S-
appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's going to
So,
be a journey.
hmm
So,
so I guess, I guess we may as well get started. What is the latest out there? I know what Doomcock has been saying, and I'm sure he's getting some good sources. But have
well,
you?
there's a lot. If you're, I would suggest if you're not a Patreon of Kamran Pasha's Patreon, you should be.
Okay.
Back in early mid January, he got some information that was just huge. First off, um, they basically were saying that the hiring freeze was put in place, of course,
Hmm.
and he broke that before it got out to the general public.
Well.
Uh, he broke it before the rags did, and then he got some more stuff. Basically, Kathleen Kennedy had gone to Bob Iger, but was met with apparently one of his minions.
Uh oh.
Basically, and she basically said, if I've got something in the hopper in development, I'd like to stay. And the minion, speaking for Iger, said no. When Indiana Jones 5 is out within the next few weeks, we'd like to have your resignation. We'd like to have you retire. She's 70 years old, first off. I mean, and then you got to think, why on earth would she want to be there? She doesn't like being the head of a studio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a woman that from the beginning of June through, I think, the 8th of August was floating around Europe with her husband this last summer. She's gone for 40 days,
Wow.
um, which was telling me a lot. They don't, people in her position don't do that. Okay. Um, and that was before the JPEG thing and all that. And, that is, I don't want to get into that because it's really what they did to him and when they did it to him is still the strangest thing and the reasons they've come up with. Disney's come up with 5 different versions of why. And
Hmm.
when you look at that, you're like, bullshit, 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 bullshit. Okay. None of it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, their latest was he wasn't getting along with the creatives and something about ESGs you know, but when you see that Christine McCarthy, the CFO, had talked to Iger a few days before the big meeting where they canned JPEG, it's like, wait a minute, none of that. You could wait till the next day to bring him into a meeting. You wouldn't even really have to fire him.
Mm-hmm.
So we think, and this is just, and I kind of think it's true, and it goes along with everything else, that JPEG was about to find out that in 2017, when FTX was getting off the ground, Bob Iger borrowed about $1 billion
Ooh.
from Disney to invest in FTX and lost it. And because it just, it's the only thing that matches the data points. And it's the only thing that matches what happened. You don't fire the CEO over the bullshit they said they did on a Sunday night. It just, ask anybody in business, it's like, row, what's going
Well,
on?
isn't it best to, if you're gonna do that, avoid the media cycle and do it on a day do it like on a weekend to avoid
Well,
that.
no, no, it's not done. If usually when you fire people, it's on a Thursday or a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Chapek fired Peter Rice on a Monday, gave him a week to, uh, you know, get his orders and together and launched him off the end of his foot. What we didn't know was that Bob Iger never left. He was still in the corner office at Disney. So he was still peeking over Chapek's shoulder.
Mm.
Um, so with the FTX thing going on and that big bankruptcy, uh, and the reason why I think Kamran is on something is because Kevin O'Leary, the spokesman for FTX,
Mm-hmm.
is on CNBC, and the first name that comes out as far as investors with FTX is Bob Iger. Okay, now
Whoa.
they released a list of companies that were involved with FTX, and it wasn't all of them. Okay, they don't. Disney is scared to death, and with Nelson Peltz, and before him, uh, Dan Loeb, and now you've got the owner of the Carolina Panthers, who third quarter he sold all of his shares. So fourth quarter he bought them all back. The proxy war was real, and what's funny is that Iger bent the knee to Nelson Peltz and these investors, and he's basically doing what Chapek said to do, what Chapek was going to do. And now Disney's going 3.5 billion in content being cut,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, 7,000 employees to
Yeah.
start with
Mm-hmm.
being laid off. And those employees are not chief cast members, though they're going to be executives. And
Wow.
Cameron got a list of people at Lucasfilm.
Wow.
Like Pablo Hidalgo, Matt Martin, Phil Sostak, who else? Carrie Beck, this kid named Jason Stein, Robin or Rain Roberts, and a few other people. Their story group. Of the story group, only three people will remain. The rest of them are gone. Now, this you got to hedge your bets. Okay, when did they find out? Yeah, they did. They found out because Conrad posted it on Patreon, and
Oh.
we have discovered since then that Lucasfilm employees read his Patreon.
Well, of course they do.
So they're trying to figure out where this is all coming from. And apparently, Kennedy basically went to talk to each of these people personally and vowed to protect their jobs. It's like, but she was told by Iger's minions when she confronted them that Kathy, this is already done, and you can't do anything about it. There you go. Okay, it's
Oh,
over. It's 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 going to happen now. Is it true? When I looked at what Doomcock said, it depends on where the level of uh, um, rumor and the person who's telling them
mhm.
is. And this is some very high level stuff that Conrad's got. When I look at what Doomcock has said, it looks to me like stories are filtering down to people. So, have you ever done a round robin,
Oh yeah.
where you tell someone a story and
Mhm.
they tell the same story to and it goes from one person and it gets back to you and it's not the same story at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
That that's the rumor stuff that's going on right
Mhm.
now. You've still got them insisting the acolytes being made, including really just ridiculous set pictures. And the rumors that I've heard is that they're basically borrowing the Andor set. They don't have their own sets, and there is nothing about the acolyte on paper at Lucasfilm, and it's what Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant. No,
I call her Squarehead.
yeah, I call Forehead, Leslie Forehead, Fred Flintstone, um, what Tom Connors calls her. Um, I like to bring up the Harvey Weinstein thing, and I'm going to go on a rant about her in a minute. Um, she says she had money. What we think is she got discretionary uh, funds from Kennedy to film a presentation to show Disney. Now, let's go back and look at what Bob Iger said about cuts in content. Kevin Feige announced to the world that uh, they were cutting back on Marvel TV shows.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, I've
That
seen that.
means they're doing the same thing with Star Wars. Okay.
Mhm.
And uh, so I'm going, they're not, this is never going to make it to screen. They're never going to finish. This is bullshit.
Mhm.
You know, this is uh, Leslie Forehead trying to desperately um, uh, get something out there because if you go on her IMDb account and her IMDb Pro, this is all she's got. She's not working on, she didn't work on Russian Doll. She didn't work on anything, right? She doesn't, I mean, this is it. And I'm still incensed that someone like her was able to even get near a show at Disney with her background. She worked for him for 6 years
Yeah.
and
And
they never
I
deposed her. She's never been brought up saying you knew stuff and you didn't do anything about it.
yeah.
No.
And she's when I saw her on her first interview, she's a she's a crass person, and even not knowing her background, I was
Yeah,
immediately thinking, this person is so crass.
yeah, yeah.
I would not. sh- I am waiting for her to be fired.
I am just waiting for them to say we're canceling this. We're not giving you any money. Go away.
Hmm.
Um, but all of her whamming this and whamming that. What about the women that he abused? That she took to him. She knew it. You know, people are like, well, she's trying to protect her job. Okay, fine, fine, that's fine. But again, her saying anything about protecting her job is not an excuse for enabling a felon.
Hmm.
Okay, that was what she was doing. She's basically accessory to conspiracies, and there she is. It's bullshit. It's absolute. You know, I can't sit there and look at these women who scream feminist crap, and then realize they let this stuff happen because they would rather have their career than actually be ethical the way they think they are.
Hmm.
You
The
know,
double standard.
yeah, it's so that really bothers me. And then of course we've got, and this really bothers me. This next thing we talk about. So while we've got this rumor of people um, mass layoffs coming to Disney
Hmm.
and cost cutting, Damon Lindelof goes off on his own, probably at Kennedy's behest, or maybe not, and says he's developing a Ray Grogu mashup movie.
A what?
A Ray Palpatine Grogu mashup movie. Okay, now there are people out there, and my favorite thing is when I hear someone say indications are,
Yep.
okay, they're not looking at the company holistically. They're doing, fanboy Inc. stuff. Um, when they ignore the cost cutting of content, okay, when they ignore the fact that Disney's not just cutting 3.5 billion out of content, pro, procuration, they're cutting $5 billion. Where's the money for this movie going to come from? Crowdfund
Mm.
it? You know, um, I just go, please stop talking about this stuff until Bob Iger himself says it's going to happen. This is just stuff for, you know, the
Clickbait.
the five people in, you know, uh, Hollywood in the industry that still think Kennedy is talented. All right. I mean, there's first off, Damon Lindelof's a hack. Second of all, I don't see John Favreau allowing his little character dude to be bastardized like this. And Disney, all right, again, God's eye view of the company and how big it is, where they're going to cut jobs is in the creative divisions. Okay, the studios. Okay, there and you'll probably see diversity hired that diversity departments go to. Okay, because other companies are doing it. My line is you don't have to announce you're getting rid of woke. You just fire it. Okay, it just goes away like that.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't see where the money's going to come from. It's something for people to talk about. It's something for people who uh, need something to just be angry about, I think. And I don't think a rumor like that, and this is where the fudge rule comes in, because I'm looking at it all going, and I'll tell you why. Why? A good friend of mine, his name is Dan Watanabe. If you go on my channel, he goes under the name of Kotang Sensei. He's Japanese American, and he used to work, and he still lives in Los Angeles. He's still very well connected to the industry, and I basically got a very long thing from him about where the industry thinks Disney is and where Kennedy is. And Disney's in a worse position than a lot of the other studios are because of the Fox buyout.
Mm-hmm.
And Kennedy, they just look at her and go, she's laughing stock. I mean, he's got friends who are at extremely high places at other studios, the equivalent of John Favreau types, right? And they're like, she failed, and so when I see people act like she's never leaving and she's leaving when she wants to, I don't think that Bob Iger has a choice. I think when he looks over his shoulder and he sees Nelson Peltz and who is that, Tebbers, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, Dan Loeb and other investors, and they have the votes to remove him and the board because he would not have bent the knee without that. Okay. I see them staring at him saying, you got to do something about this. Look, Disney isn't run by the board unless the investors let them run it. Okay. The investors are the ones that ultimately have the yes and no over this crap.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very happy to overlook the bullshit until they started losing money, until their dividends were gone. And then they're like, I guess get woke, go broke is real. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing that. And I do not see serious guys like the ones I'm talking about putting up with that fluffy brained idiot. Okay. They want to see things be successful. And when you're talking about rumors about Lucasfilm or Marvel or Pixar, you got to understand there are people that have billions of dollars invested who do not like what's going on, who are going to turn the screws because Iger's looking around going, my ass is against the wall, and I'm not going to let my legacy get destroyed any more than it already has been, which is why I think you're going to see a lot of stuff happen that you didn't expect. And Kennedy is only as powerful as these guys and their billions will let her be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're going to let her be that way anymore. A lot of people talk about BlackRock. You got to understand, BlackRock just laid off 500 employees. All right. They're being kicked off of a lot of different retirement plans, state retirement plans, and other places. So they're not, I don't think, in a good position to be forcing ESG crap on anybody. And Vanguard, which is the other big hedge fund, it looks like they're walking back ESGs a lot. So we have to see what happens. But I think the good guys are actually in position to overhaul things. And as far as Lucasfilm goes, I do not see the investors putting up with Kennedy. And the Acolyte, from what Cameron has been told, that's life is only going to be decided if Mandalorian does well. And I want Mandalorian to do well, but I don't want to see somebody like Leslie Headland get away with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Get away with forcing Disney to spend money they don't have.
That's true. And especially the investors aren't the only ones that are worried, because you've also got like Apple. From what I've heard, Apple's in the background licking its chops.
Yeah.
You've got Netflix licking its chops.
Yeah.
I'm sure they smell weakness.
Yeah. And I mean, Netflix, Andre and Midnight's Edge did a show about the streaming wars, and Disney lost 2.6 million subscribers. They didn't lose me. I am not going to give up my subscription only because I want to watch every episode of The Mandalorian.
Hmm.
And I want to see Ahsoka, and I want to see Skeleton Crew. Kojak, stop crying. Um, uh, it's just, that's just me. I am very, I'm not shocked that they lost that many subscribers. Uh, Normies who just want Disney there for their kids, or are adults that watch it just because they like the movies, but are insulted by, what was that? Proud Family, and the critical race theory crap
Hmm.
that they put in there, and other shows that they have on there. They're not going to keep that subscription. Okay, and that was those people who make stuff like that. They were hired under Bob Iger.
Hmm.
Okay, he was the one that said, "We'll go into this crap." Okay, now he's going to have to get rid of them. All right,
Hmm.
and that's why they're losing subscriptions. They're losing them because of the uh, the LGBTQ crap from last March,
Hmm.
and that Reimagine Tomorrow video thing.
Hmm.
Uh, I got most all of those videos. I did a video on that, talking about each person who made a statement, and it made me sick to my stomach. I wouldn't let those people near my kids. If I was walking down the street and I saw, Latoya Ravenel, and I had my kids with, if I and I had kids and I had them with me, we'd walk across the street to avoid her. That's how bad I thought it was. That was ugly, almost demonic garbage. Okay, that they were spewing,
Right.
victimizing children. You know, but that's what they looked at, these people, and they're predatory. Look at Disney as a way to get at children. All right, it is not hyperbole to say they want your kids. Okay, it is not. And we saw it with Star Wars, Vice Admiral Holdo. Okay. Um, we saw it with, Kyle Ron, aka Ben Solo. A
Hmm.
lot of them. Okay. Uh, are like that. And they're not necessarily as in your face as some of it is, but still, it is not good storytelling. Activists don't make good storytellers. They
No.
don't. And, like I've been trolling Pablo Hidalgo on Twitter, and he's really trying to behave himself. In fact, he had a 2-hour conversation with WDW Pro, Valiant Renegade, and Josiah Campbell. And I'm like, he's not saying anything. He's not, even when they said he indicated nothing. He's trying to be really nice. But look, after the BS from 14 till 2018 and after, and what he did to Star Wars theory and the rest of us, because emotions aren't for sharing wasn't just an attack on theory, it was an attack on every fan out there who was glad to see Luke back. Okay, he can sit there and be nice as pie. We have the receipts. I have dozens of tweets where he maligned people. Okay, and he knows the end is nigh. He knows it. I can tell. Um, and I think he's known it for a while. Uh, it's very interesting watching all this happening. Um, and it's going to be interesting going forward. Let's put it this way: next year, this time, Lucasfilm is going to be very different. It's going to look really different, I think.
One can only hope.
Yeah, yeah,
One can only hope.
yeah.
Um, let's see. We have in here. We got Matt G. Hello, and excuse me, allergies. Ugh.
All right.
Uh, and Dark Helmet. Hello there. So we are going to. Um, so So you're thinking it. So you're thinking the Stephanie Janicek crystal ball in the middle of the cantina. You're
Yeah,
thinking it's probably going to be for the better.
yeah. Got to remember that Iger has to move fast because he's only got 2 years. And if
Mm,
he doesn't, if he's not successful in the changes he's making, he'll be removed sooner than that. He knows
mm,
it.
yeah.
I think the investors, Nelson Peltz doesn't have to sit on the board to cause trouble. All right. All he has to do is just be there, floating
Mm,
around, sending emails, calling him up, saying something in the press. And
mm,
that's enough to probably put the fear of God into Iger.
mm,
But I think Kathleen Kennedy probably will be gone at the end of July. I'm not going to make it at the end of the year this year. Um, I know we keep pushing it back, but I want to ask the people in the chat too to think about this. If you're her, you're with your husband, you're on a vacation, you're in Portugal, sitting there drinking really, really good port, looking at the sea, the Mediterranean, or the Atlantic, and you're talking about the future. You're almost 70 years old. What exactly do you want to accomplish anymore? Okay,
mm,
uh, you can't brag about your record at Lucasfilm. You can't. Okay,
mm,
there's nothing to brag about. You can't take credit for the Mandalorian without people going whispering behind your back.
mm,
You've really got nothing that you've accomplished. You've failed. Okay, why would and you don't really like being president of this company? You're not a studio head, so why would you want to be there?
yeah.
Is it ego? Is it delusion? I mean, the woman, she's not very intelligent. Okay, she's not. I mean, when you see her interviewed, I'm pretty sure that her intelligence goes maybe to about 80 IQ. Okay, she's not at all. So I sit there and go, if she's honest with herself, I would think she'd want to go do something else. I would
Yeah.
think that she doesn't like Star Wars. She hates the fans. She doesn't like going into the office. So what are we doing? Okay, these are questions that need to be asked. And um, I find it interesting that no one except me asks it because if you're in a job you don't like and you're not doing well at it and it's dragging your whole life down, you got to make a change, right?
Mm,
And I honestly think that vacation for 40 days, let's say, I mean, she went to Portugal, then she went to Ibiza, Spain, and then they spent some time on Mallorca. They went back to Spain, and then they went to try out the lovely new rosé wine in Provence. And then they went to Cornwall, England, and London,
mm,
which is why then I started calling her the Duchess of Cornwall. Um, but you know what? What was that about? Was that her 70th birthday trip, or you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But even that, it just so I think it was a what do I want to do next trip? Do I really want to stay at Lucasfilm? La la la. Now, Indiana Jones 5, I do somewhat I agree that the screenings, which they're trying to cover up, which is stupid, went badly.
Mm,
I don't necessarily agree with any of the rumors about Phoebe Waller-Bridge getting the whip and everything. I was like, that is a reach. Whoever's telling you smoking that Doomy is smoking a lot of good dope. Okay, that Harrison Ford would never let that happen. He
mm,
would get up and walk away. Okay, that so I think they probably did reshoots based on the fact she's in it, she's annoying as hell, and she's not likable. That's it. That's all she has to be. She doesn't have to be Ray Palpatine. All right. All she has to do is be annoying.
Mhm.
And, you know, people going, where she sucks. Why is she,
Mhm.
And so I think that there was an argument between Chapek and Kennedy. I think that argument carried on with Iger. I think he basically greenlit reshoots. And because we haven't, I mean, Harrison Ford, he's been doing a lot of PR for 1923 and Shrinking.
Mhm.
But really, we haven't seen him lately. So I'm thinking they're probably doing something along those lines.
Mhm.
And James Mangold has been very quiet on Twitter.
Mhm.
He denied the screenings, and then he went dark. Of course, he could be tweeting, and I just haven't seen it, but I haven't done an investigation. But I think it's going to be better than what people expect, and I don't think it's going to be what we've been told it was. Okay, I don't. And people are saying Mangold wanted to capture a darkness and, gray areas that have to do with, kind of reality. And if it's about Andy discovering that the scientists working on the space program were Nazi party members, my dad knew that. Okay. It was, I'm a history major, so let's go back in our little bubbles. Go back to 1968 and the 60s. You got the Soviets, and we were in the space race. And back in the 40s, when we were grabbing these scientists,
Right.
we didn't care. It was, look, let me be brutally honest. The Russians weren't our allies. Okay, then they weren't.
Mhm.
We
Yep.
were the next victim as far as Stalin was concerned. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's how we have to look at it. And the people that we brought over to the US, Werner von Braun and the rest of them, were the very best and brightest at astro at the physics of rocket flight
Mhm.
and this kind of engineering that we needed to have in order to get people in space
Mhm.
and to get our ballistic missile technology up to where it should be. And you've got to kind of look at it and going, the United States did what it had to do to survive. Okay. And sometimes you make a deal with somebody that's not exactly savory. And the people complaining about that, if you have a World War II veteran in your family still, talk to them about that. Because that's their lives. That is their lifetime.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the question is, I don't look at how we feel about it because I don't care. I look at how my father and my uncles thought about it. And they were like, you know, we had to beat the Russians.
Yep.
And there you go, and, if we don't, and really, I'm not as familiar with Von Braun's bio. Um, I'm not sure if he was part of a lot of the really sick stuff they did. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have people complaining about it. And it's like, oh God.
All right. So yeah, Cobalt's asking, how's Kathleen Kennedy aligned with the Russians? We're talking about Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
the
And yeah,
Indiana Jones movie.
we're talking about basically the movie is based on it's 1969 is when you get to its present, and it's after the Apollo moon landing,
Mhm.
and apparently Jürgen Voller, one of our rocket scientists, he's played by Mads Mikkelsen, is playing a German rocket scientist that um, Indy had run into during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you got to remember when you're thinking about that time period in the 60s, we were in a massive Cold War with the Russians, fighting proxy wars all over the world with them.
Mm-hmm.
And um, they had beaten us to manned flight. Okay. Then we beat them. Okay. And it was a back and forth because they took German scientists too. Okay. So, and the Germans, I'm going to say this, they had the best uh, engineers for this kind of technology out there then. Okay. That is not hyperbole to say that. So, what we've got is the space race. I have a feeling we may see the KGB at some point. Um, because to leave them out of something like this is just stupid. Okay, I'd be like, give me a break. Okay. Um, and we've got, it's basically if you have you ever seen the boys from Brazil? Gregory
No,
Peck
I don't.
played. Okay,
No.
he played Dr. Mengele, and Laurence Olivier played a character based on oh God, who was that Nazi hunter's name? He was
Wiesenthal.
yeah, he played a guy like Simon Wiesenthal, and it's a really good movie, and it's gonna be a little bit like that, I think,
Mm.
where Andy's older, uh, Voller's older, and it's gonna be very interesting that whole dynamic because I mean, look, in the '80s they were still taking uh, war criminals to Israel to charge them, you know, and interestingly enough, Ukrainian war criminals. There were Ukrainian guards at the camps
Mm-hmm.
who murdered lots of people.
Oh yeah.
Lots.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think we should kind of remember. I'm uh, very much of, I don't care what happens over there, keep us out of it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
You know.
And we're probably getting pretty close to my rule, my no politics rule, but I know it's tying into the indie thing. So,
Well, it's Indiana Jones does the history stuff, and
hmm
um, it, we will get cartoon Nazis, which is kind of like if you ever met like Martin Bormann, you'd be like, this guy is the biggest, you know, slab of meat I've ever seen in my life. They were so boring and banal. I mean, they were chicken farmers and office workers and clerks, and
hmm
you
yeah.
know, it just so. But I think the movie's gonna be quite good. Um,
Okay.
I I'm trusting Harrison Ford on that, and
You think he's going to find a way to make it work?
oh yeah, yeah. If I mean, you've got him, and I gotta tell you, people discount Frank Marshall. Um, I can see him saying, "All right, we went too far there. We're going to have to reshoot this. This is stupid." Okay, I can see him biting back at her. They've been married for 40 years, so I can see him saying, "Kathy, that's enough. Knock it off." Okay,
Mm,
we want people to come to the movie, not be repelled. Okay,
yeah.
so that um, and I feel sorry for him. I do. Uh, I, I think it's one of those things where he let her take a bite out of something she couldn't deal with, and now everybody's going to pay for it because her name on anything drives people away.
hmm
I mean, I think part of the problem with Kenobi is that she was named an executive producer, even if she had absolutely no creative control over it at all. She was still there, and she's an easy mark. So,
Mm-hmm.
There you go. But when I look at the future, I think she's probably done sometime after Indy 5 drops, maybe after it leaves the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think we're going to see the layoffs at Lucasfilm happen first.
Oh yeah.
I don't think she'll be. I don't think that Disney can wait. So, and they're announcing a lot of stuff in publishing, and it's like, look, you're throwing good money after bad now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just so anyway. I mean, it's going to be interesting going forward. Hopefully, we'll learn more about what's going on at Lucasfilm as it gets closer. And as someone that likes to kind of I like to watch people's behavior. People that are scared are either go silent
Mm-hmm.
or they run their mouths. And everybody that I have listed that's on Twitter is quiet.
Mm.
They're not talking politics. They're not attacking fans. Pablo Hidalgo is posting pictures of Transformers.
There you
Okay.
go, comic relief crusader.
Yeah. So anyway, and that's really, and that's what's really going on. I've been really looking hard at Disney as a whole right now too. So, which is the stuff going on at Disney is really fascinating right now.
Okay.
Um, with Iger and the cuts and, just watching to see what he does.
Uh-huh.
Because that first earnings call, he sounded like a very tired man.
Ooh. Mm.
He sounded tired. He sounded defeated. And I'm like, good. He did it to himself.
He probably did not expect to have to come back and ended up.
Well, if he gets a phone call or if he looked on and realized that, again, here we go to the idea of FTX looming large, realize that money that he invested from Disney disappeared,
Mm-hmm.
that would have brought him back. Because if that hole was discovered by Chapek, a lot of people have been going to jail.
Mm.
There's one thing Chapek did not know about. So he was, and he hasn't said anything. He's probably under an NDA, but
Probably.
he has not said a word since. So
Yeah.
God knows what's going on with him. There was a rumor that AMC was actually looking at to bring him in.
Mm.
I'm like, I don't know. He's kind of a hospitality and parks guy. So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know. But
So how many shows do you primarily do videos, or do you
I
do podcasts, or
I do live streams,
okay.
and now that I've actually got the opportunity through YouTube to be able to invite somebody on,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to start doing that until I get my computer fixed up and
Okay.
running the way I want it to. Uh, I I do videos, I
Mm-hmm.
do live streams, and tomorrow, I'm going to be on Drinks with DD live podcast,
Okay.
and that drops on Friday at 6 Eastern,
Okay.
p.m. Eastern, and it's just a bunch of us get together and we drink, we whatever. Usually got wine, and we talk about whatever topic Dee Dee wants to talk about,
Okay.
and it usually ends up degenerating into it's hilarious, and sometimes we get quite drunk, so it's a lot of fun. So I do that, and I usually wait now for news to drop,
Okay.
um, uh, and I don't, you know, I'm not going to follow anybody's narrative. because I don't think the fan narratives are right, and I don't think they give um, anybody the opportunity to really think about what's going on with anything from Marvel to Lucasfilm to DC or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's one of those things where uh, if you're going to talk about this stuff, look at the company as a whole
Mm-hmm.
and understand that I'm going to put this bluntly. A lot of people are like, "Will they make enough money at the parks?" How long do you think the parks can actually hold up that whole company? All right, not
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Okay, because they've got to pay for repairs, they've got to pay payroll,
Mm-hmm.
and like okay, this part, Iger basically made an announcement that everybody that's working from home, you got to come in 4 days a week, and
Mm-hmm.
then they started crying, and the people that are doing the most crying are the wokesters. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
how do you get rid of more than just 7,000 people? They take themselves out. If I have to go into work, then I'm not going to work. I'm going to quit. All
Well,
right.
fine.
And that saves you payroll. It saves you unemployment benefits.
Mm-hmm.
See? And that's.
Yeah.
So really, a lot of this stuff is, it's going to work. A lot of the trash will take itself out with
Probably.
that.
You're probably right.
So anyway,
Okay. All right. Now, I did promise you guys to get out there um and ask your questions, make your statements. I did see a very intriguing comment by Cobalt Bald Eagle. He says, well, no, actually, let's start with Pudgy. Uh, he says, Cobalt tells Pudgy he won't subscribe to Disney, which is fine. Pudgy doesn't like Star Wars. Pudgy does like the pretty lady on the show.
oh,
So
thank you.
you've
Thank you
got
very much.
you got a fan out there.
Thank you. Thank
Pudgy, you're all right. Let's see. But Cobalt, and I wanted to get your take on this. I I I could see this happening. I could see this happening because there's got to be protective disinformation. But Cobalt says, going to be honest here, I think Doomcock, Midnight's Edge, WDW Pro, they're all being trolled. Disney is behind the rumors and are feeding false information. I could see that.
and that's one of the things I think people need to be really careful with. Um, uh, Kamran does not follow their line of thinking at all. Um, but he has got a, a contact inside that, well, Kamran was the one that said there's going to be a hiring freeze 2 days before it was announced. All right. In fact, I went to Matt Bellamy on Puck and said, heads up, there's going to be a hiring freeze at Disney. And he goes, well, we'll see. 2 days later, he's like, oh my God, you were right. Okay. Um, and like this stuff that he posted on his Patreon about Hidalgo, those guys don't have that. And they don't have the stuff that he does about Kennedy. And when he brings it up, lots of times they poo poo it because for some reason there's a need in the fandom to have this narrative that she is the Lord Goddess of all powerful females in Hollywood. And I don't think she's been that way since 2018. I think that after Solo came out and died a terrible death, um, Hollywood looked at her and said, "Oh my God, she's horrible." You know, uh, her reputation has been ruined,
Mhm.
and they also are not taking into consideration we're not in 2018 anymore.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of time has passed. If you look at the economy, we have a different president. Um, We've gone through a pandemic. The industry has been shaken to its core by that pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's having a hard time, even with Maverick, even with Avatar too, to get back on its feet. Okay, um, they're not taking that into consideration when they talk about Kennedy being all powerful, and that she's demanding this, and you know um, uh, John Favreau just holding on. Look, John Favreau was brought in by Bob Iger. Bob Iger loves John Favreau.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's not going to be on Kathy's side, and he hasn't been on Kathy's side since she humiliated him in 2018. Okay, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean, hey, he can look at her and said, "You're the one that told me we should do Galaxy's Edge in the sequel trilogy. You were the one that told me that." And how we know that is because a former vice president of Imagineering went on a podcast and said so. So the hotel is Kathy's fault. She was the one that suggested all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be a cruise on a ship. Um, and then they turned it into a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, Ray and Kyle Ron, and, it's like, Hasbro can't make any money on this.
Mm-hmm.
Disney's not making any money on this. If you look at it, it's economically untenable where she left the franchise.
Yeah.
So you've got to take that into consideration. And, if you assume Bob Iger is her friend, read his book. She wasn't mentioned at all in that book. He was like lamenting the fact he screwed George Lucas over. He didn't talk about Kennedy at all.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think about that. So when I see stuff about, like the Ray Grogu movie and Damon Lindelof, that's a pipe dream that they put out there. I do believe that Kennedy wants to be in, she wants to go out on some sort of high note with Star Wars, but Ray Skywalker and Grogu is not a high note.
No.
That is, but I can also see her not talking to her husband about it. And I can also see her not realizing how many people actually hate Ray. Not Daisy Ridley's fault.
No.
Just a terrible character.
It was a bad character.
Yeah. So, but I can see Kennedy not understanding that.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Ask your questions, pose your queries, make your statements. John Rendell says Star Wars is pretty much a dead horse at this point, along with the other major franchises.
I don't agree with that, John, and I'll tell you why. The Mandalorian, if you look at the views, it's the trailers getting is enormous right now. They're putting a lot of work into the marketing of it, and I think that part of Star Wars is very much alive and kicking. And I think what Jon Favreau is doing is very much alive and kicking. Now, I did like Kenobi. I do not understand why people didn't like it. It didn't break canon, and you guys don't want to get into the minutia, but I'm like, when people start saying that, the Book of Boba Fett was mediocre, but I didn't hate it. And of course, Mandalorian is great. Now I'm looking forward to Ahsoka. I'm looking forward to Skeleton Crew. That's another Favreau property. The rest of it is dead. When I hear people talk, I mean, let me put a rant out about Andor. Andor was good. They went on location and filmed. Blah blah blah. Okay, so you're telling me spending money on going to location instead of actually using the volume stage to make it look like a galaxy far, far away, and costumes for aliens makes it better Star Wars? I felt like I was watching a generic sci-fi show. And yes, I watched every damn episode where they had like where you see Coruscant. That's a place in London, England, I've been. I was like, I don't want to go to a place I've been. I want to go to a place that I can't imagine, and that's Coruscant. Okay. Coruscant is, the Bad Batch is doing Coruscant excellently well. This Andor was boring. It was woke with the two lesbians. It made me sick to my stomach. Um, and the only character that was really good was Stellan Skarsgård, and they should have just had the show revolve around him. Okay. Instead, we got Andor, because let's bore everybody with the slow, boring burn, and then the action sequences are like,
Hmm.
you know, kind of like you're really happy you weren't drinking, alcohol at the time. You might have thrown your glass at the TV set. It's just, I mean, that's where it's dead. It's dead with writers, if they're part of it, like Tony Gilroy, and I mean, even Robert Rodriguez. I wouldn't let him near Star Wars again. The Skillet cyclists. I was like, the Skittles gang. Oh God.
Hmm.
You know, if the fans know what it's supposed to look like, and they're calling you out on it, you have a problem.
Mhm.
Okay, but that's where it's not dead at the Favreau thing, but it is dead in publishing. The High Republic is a joke. It's dead with the movies, and there's, like I said, the Damon Lindelof thing. Where's the money? Where's the money? And
Mhm.
you've got channels uh, using their sources, which are not anywhere close to people who would actually know what they were talking about, yeah, they're going to do a Ray Grogu mashup. It's like, no, they're not. I mean, again, think about Bob Iger greenlighting that and the shitstorm he would get from the people who actually invest money. Because people who uh, put the money out there for these movies are the investors.
Mhm.
Okay? And I guarantee you, Nelson Peltz was like, I'm not spending a dime for that. What the hell is this?
Mhm.
I mean, but so you gotta take that into consideration. And this is why a lot of stuff is happening with these layoffs. Okay, they have to rejuvenate this thing. I mean, I would go so far as to say, George, maybe get invited back to buy it back, or to buy the making of rights back, and do a deal where Disney does the parks and George does the creative stuff and fixes what's broken. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I could see Apple stepping in, maybe to buy Hulu.
Mhm.
Um, there's tons of stuff there. I so it's going to be a different place. And in about July, we should start hearing stuff about uh, Kennedy. I think just in the trades uh, sooner rather than later. So
Okay.
there you go. I mean,
Um, Snorter Poopus asks George. Wait a minute, that's Phantom Outsider. Uh, Snorter Poopus says, "Do you think Lucas has any regrets for having sold Star Wars and for what's happened to it?"
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I've got a little blurb I like to use on my videos of him basically calling Disney white slavers. Uh, I know Bob Iger lamented the fact that George feels so betrayed, and you can't blame him for feeling that way.
Mhm.
Okay, they screwed him over. I mean, and Iger was the one that threw the script treatments away. Um, you know, Iger made the mistake of doing that. Iger made the mistake of uh, having a timeline uh, for the movies to be made. You don't do that with Star Wars movies. You don't fix a date where it has to be out in the public. Okay,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. Um, he's the one that let Michael Arndt go. He's the one that listened to Kathleen Kennedy. He's the one that, allowed this TFA. Just people talk about TLJ. I talk about TFA. When I look back and I think of the opportunity that was lost, and I think of what they did to the characters in that movie alone, it's an abomination.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it made a lot of money on nostalgia, but
Mm-hmm.
it won't be remembered for anything more than drunk deadbeat dad Han Solo and Hillary Clinton, Leia Organa, and Luke hiding on an island. Big deal,
Mm-hmm.
and the beginning of Raylo. These are the things that Kennedy's era gave us.
Mm-hmm.
Raylo, Kyle Ryan, Vice Admiral Gender Studies. It just Ryan Johnson. It's pathetic, but yeah, I do believe George is regretful. Um, I don't think he'd work with Kathleen Kennedy again. When they were talking about doing the Indiana Jones 5 movie, uh, George did not want to be part of it. He would not. Stephen finally walked away. Um, and you gotta look at Harrison Ford saying, "I'm caught in the middle of this," you know. But he's the driving force behind this. And I'm gonna tell you guys, when people talk about how powerful Kathleen Kennedy is, you think about her messing around with Harrison Ford, fucking with him and see where that happens.
Ooh, watch
Yeah.
F-bomb.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
He won't tolerate it. I mean, and so the stuff about, them trying to disappear Indy and all that, I was like, do you realize who this guy is? Do you think he's going to say, what a great idea? I'm all in, Kathy. 40 years of my career wasted. You want to kill me off for this, whatever she is? Are you kidding me? You know, he's just not. So I called BS on that, because that guy carries such cachet, and his star is back up. With 1923, he and Helen Mirren are playing Han and Leia the way they should have been. You know that? If you're watching 1923, I suggest you watch it. They are who Han Solo and Princess Leia should have been in the sequel trilogy. And when I watch this, I feel cheated. I feel like Carrie was cheated. The fans were cheated. Harrison was cheated. Okay. Um, uh, in Shrinking, it's a different performance. And this last episode, I cried at the end. And it's a funny show. It really is a funny show. There's some wokey stuff to it, but it doesn't take away from what he's doing in it. Uh, it's like, and watching the younger actors talk about working with him and feeling like they have to be on their toes and they want to do good because he's there with them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that says a lot about him. This is a different time now, and we have to look at everything as A, Star Wars is in a flux. B, Marvel's in a flux. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. That box office is awful. Just a second. Kojak, quit crying. I'll let you out in a minute. Okay? God. But seeing Harrison back on top and realizing he never lost that cachet is really cool to see. And I think I'm hoping that Indy 5 makes $1 billion just because he deserves it. And if it's sorry, oh my God. So, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
good.
And if that movie makes $1 billion and Kennedy leaves under a good light, I don't care. I mean, I'm pragmatic. I'm like, good, throw her a float and parade on the way out, as long as she's gone. Okay? Because everybody knows what she did. We don't have to see her frog marched out. We don't have to see her humiliated. She's already humiliated, right? So, there's that.
Okay. Let's see. Uh, Tim says, Tim says the problem with Star Wars 7, 8, and 9, there seemed to be no single story to run through. All three of them together was so very disjointed.
Yeah, that's part of it. First off, J.J. Abrams and TFA made the galaxy small enough to be just our solar system.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch that movie and you see Han walk out and see Starkiller Base firing whatever that was at Hosnian Prime, all right, I could see, there are going to be supernovas we see in broad daylight. But I thought that was really far fetched. It's like, it's just happening in one spot. All this is happening at once in one spot of the galaxy? What the hell? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's no explanation and no reason for Ben Solo to be the way he is. And even in The Last Jedi, what they did to Luke was so pathetically wrong. But again, why would Ben Solo hate his parents that much? Then I looked at him and thought, he's a millennial superhero. They all feel that way about their parents. Okay. They're all poor put upon victims going to Starbucks and complaining about the world and how rough it is on them. It's like, and that's who he was. Um, and then you get the rise of Palpatine, and it's like, I scrolled through that. I got it. I'm not going to tell you how. And went through the pertinent parts. Laughed my head off when Kyle Ron died. She killed him. Um, those Raylo tears were salty goodness. And then realized that, she's Palpatine won. There aren't any Skywalkers left. That's garbage. This is, and what I don't understand is people defending them. They're such bad movies. They're terrible. And
Mm-hmm.
yet you've got people defending them and they know they're bad,
Oh yeah.
you know? So, yeah, to me, Star Wars 1 through 6 is canon, and then Heir to the Empire and the Thrawn trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah.
and then you can kind of get creative with where you want to go after that. But if you watch 1923, you're going to understand what I say about Jacob Dutton and his wife, Kara. You're
Okay.
going to be like, okay, now I understand what Steph is saying. All right. I mean, you just are, because that was the way I believe that Han and Leia should have been handled. And, J.J. Abrams with this, well, this has to speak to the audience now. All right, J.J., come here. In 1977, do you realize that what George did was a universal story that spoke through millennia to people? So why does it have to only speak to modern audiences?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, but they're very uh, stupid about the way they approach things. And again, these people are very, very sheltered from the real world and what people want. So there you go. Anyway,
Okay. Um, let's see. We're running. We're running close to it, so I'm going to
okay.
do a couple more questions. Uh, Snorter Poopa says, I was so looking forward to seeing a proper ending of the saga, and KK, Jar Jar, and Ruin robbed me and all the old time fans of that.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
if you want to look at the list of people that are getting dumped at Lucasfilm when the layoffs start, these are the people that did it. Matt Martin attacking the fans for hating the sequels. Um, uh, Joshua Stein, Jason Stein, Pablo, uh, Phil Sosak, all these people that were malicious online. And I gotta say, the reason why Pablo loves uh, the TLJ so much, Ryan Johnson went up to San Francisco and wrote it with him. All
Hmm.
right. So Pablo's fingerprints are all over The Last Jedi.
Great.
There you go.
Hmm.
That's why it sucks so bad. He's literally the one person in the world that should never have been near Star Wars. And there he is. But we'll see how long that lasts now.
Yep.
Um, so anyway,
Okay. And I think Legatus Legion, I think, says it all. Star Wars EU is my Star Wars. I know not what this evil house of mouse. I denounce them placing legend tags on the real Star Wars.
yeah, and uh, I think the full circle is going to come. While I'm not a person who actually follows karma, people earn basically get back what they put out, and I have a feeling that because there's no money in the sequel trilogy, there's no audience for it.
Hmm.
Even people that say they like it don't bother with it anymore.
Hmm.
They're not watching it over and over again. In fact, I heard someone say that the sequel trilogy is some of the least watched movies on Disney Plus. No one watches it.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So when you think about that, what's Disney going to do? They want to keep Star Wars. They want to make money on it. They're going to have to do something about it to get people to come back. And what you do with it is you put it in its own little universe and overwrite it,
Hmm.
which is
The
why,
veil, the
yeah,
veil of the Force.
yeah. And I think that is really what's going to happen. They have to. And I don't think, I think the only reason why Kennedy's even upset about this is that she was the godmother, the overseer of the sequel trilogy, and she doesn't want to see something she created get put on a back shelf. And they can, she'll scream and rant and rave, but I don't think I don't think the powers that be at Disney anymore care.
Yeah. I
So
tend, I
anyway,
tend, I would tend to agree.
yeah,
All right. Well, guys, this was great. Stephanie, thank you very much.
you're welcome. I hope it wasn't too boring.
No, 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 no. It's always, I enjoy listening. I'm not, uh, I love my Star Wars, but my Star Wars was 1 to 6. I did like Rogue One,
I did
but
too.
that was because it tied nicely into into episode 4.
Yep.
So it would probably be three and a half, episode 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
But but those were my Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you watch The Mandalorian, I want to add this, and then we can tie it up if you want.
Okay.
Liam Neeson said something lately that he felt like Star Wars was getting too diluted, and I tend to agree with him. Like with Andor. First off, Rogue One was great, but why make a show about him?
Hmm.
Okay, that was Kennedy playing cute with a character no one really cared about. Okay, um, and getting too diluted, my opinion is allowing people who really aren't dovetailed well in with the story to get near it. Like Robert Rodriguez, I like him, but the Book of Boba Fett could have been a lot better. All right. Um, that's the problem. Getting too diluted with the High Republic. What we have a rock that's a navigator of a ship called the vessel. The rock is named Geode and
Hmm.
doesn't move if you're looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is that's just a middle finger to the fans as far as
Hmm.
I'm concerned. So I see where he's going with that, but as far as like Mandalorian and Ahsoka, I think Ahsoka and Mandalorian fit well into it because these things were born when George still owned Lucasfilm.
Hmm.
And you can dovetail Heir to the Empire, Grand Admiral Thrawn, and the big three into their stories, into the main story.
Hmm.
Because in Clone Wars, they were part of the main story. The Mandalorians were, and Ahsoka was. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see at the end of this what Favreau is able to do to save it because I think he's there to save it. I think that's what his mission is. And he's, you know, if you watch the trailer for Mandalorian season 3, it's epic. It's it's going to be great, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
So,
All right. So guys, it's time.
all right,
Well, we're not done yet. Well,
okay,
but I gotta do my show notes. I don't think you've seen this, so please be prepared.
okay.
All right, where is it? Hmm.
It's time for show notes. It's time for show notes. It's time for show notes with Mr. Raymond and Sandra too. It's time for show notes. Done.
Uh, all right.
All right.
I told you that was cringy.
I like it.
I
Me
like it.
too.
It is. You'll see the other one at the end. Okay, guys, it's time for show notes. And this Saturday, yeah, I'm small, I'm feisty. We are the best little pod in YouTube, and it shows it because I am at 251 subscribers. Yeah, we got an extra one out there. Um, So, and of course, I always want to do a party. So this Saturday will be the 250 subscriber celebration. We'll have our usual shenanigans. The kitty table will be well stocked, including for those who are celebrating Lent. And it's going to be a fun time. I wanted to celebrate with you guys, me getting halfway to 500. In March, we're going to do something completely different. No interviews. We're going to be doing Radio King Dolphin TV month. For those that are not sure what that is I'm trying to do the old style radio drama theme where we have readings of various stories. On the first will be Pudgy's story time, and I don't know what episode it will be. So the first, 15th, and the 29th will be Pudgy Adventures. On the 8th and 22nd, we will continue our reading of All's Fair with myself and Anti-Derivative Jill. That's been going well, and if you, um, we've been doing rehearsals, and they're really good. You guys are in for a treat. Um, March 4th and 5th, we're probably not going to have a Just Cuz because Sandra and I will be on an away mission. But on March 10th, we're going to have our theme our theme shows back. We're going to have a wrestling theme, pro wrestling. Let's get ready to rumble on our Just Cuz. Um, and I'm working on April stuff. So please, if you know people out there who want to be interviewed, let me know and I will reach out to them. I'm already, like I said, I'm already working on April. I have a May interview, so it's getting the schedule going. So we're going to be quite busy um, here at the pod for the next couple months. So please continue to like, subscribe, and comment. I want to start hearing your comments. Sandra says, go do a King Dolphin raid on Pop Culture Breakdown. Yes, Pop Culture Breakdown coming up right after here on Doomcock's channel. So,
Okay.
um, so let me say hello, thank you for those who were here and um, um, who were here and listened to Stephanie. We had our wrench team, Sandra, Sandra, the producer, um, doing amazing things. Wendy Webb was here. Hope that motorcycle accident works out better, and is not overly stressful for you and the team. We had John Rendell. We had Legatus Legionai. Pudgy the Hedgehog was here. You didn't get the quickie question. He must have been busy eating the cookies anyway. We had the Comic Relief Crusader. We had Tim the Enchanter. And of course, Snora Pupas. Gilbar. A second, I'm getting a. Oh, yeah. Give me a second here. Fortunately, I do. Please like and subscribe to Stephanie Janiczek's channel, and there it is.
Thank you.
There it is. Good Star Wars stuff, and I'm sure other stuff will are also there too.
Yeah, Indiana Jones
Whoa.
stuff and talk about uh, the financials uh, for Disney as a whole. So, you know, kind of get down in the weeds with that sometimes.
Okay. And JohnReynolds says .com. Okay, so there is then we had the Comic Relief Crusader and Tim the Enchanter on as my amazing wrench team. And then the
Okay.
chatters, we had Captain Fandom Nerd. I got to get you back on, sir. We had Dark Helmet, you too. We had Deej Odyssey and you. We had Matt G. We had Phantom Outsider. Rancor Steve stopped by. See him on Pop Culture Breakdown tonight. Tell Doomcock hi for us, Rancor Steve. And we had Sean Carter. So thank you all for coming and listening um, to Stephanie. And please like and subscribe to Stephanie. Once again, I am glad you came by, Steph.
You're
I hope
welcome.
your arm I hope your arm feels better.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
may your therapy be painless.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that. It'll it'll go. I'm just looking forward to getting this thing off.
Yeah.
Uh, it's basically it's like walking around with an anvil on my arm.
hmm Yeah, casts are never any fun.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Okay, so now we will do the fancy show notes.
This segment is brought to you by thedolphinboy.com. It's time for show notes. It's time for show notes. It's time for show notes. With Mr. Raymond and Sandra too. It's time for show notes. Dun, dun.
Thank you very much. And dump. All right, well,
Okay.
guys. Hmm?
Okay.
All right, you guys have stick around after here. We'll chat after in the back room. Everybody, you all have a wonderful evening. You be safe, be happy, and we will see you when we party on Saturday, bring your jokes, bring your A game, bring your eclairs. The kitty table will be stocked high. You guys take care.
Okay.
Let's see. There we go.
This segment is brought to you by the